Hi, so this is our third video of our VBA series. In this video, we are going to talk about what is a worksheet and also worksheets and also sheets, right? So this is referring to the worksheet that you have in Excel file, and we will see what is the difference. And we have also charts and charts, right? So these are our main focus in this video. Okay. So we are going to discuss these 5 items, and some of them, these two, we will leave it to the end. So we will first discuss the first 3, and when we discuss these 2, we have another bonus topic that we will actually discuss, which is ChartObject and also ChartObjects. Okay, so we will go through the black color first, and we see how we can differentiate all these 3 items, and later on we move to the blue color parts. Okay, right, so starting from this one, so this is actually a collection of worksheets, right? So if you look at Excel file, whenever you click this plus sign, you are actually adding a new worksheet, right? So all these are like a worksheets. So it's a collection of worksheets, and for these worksheets, right, so it doesn't include charts worksheets, right? So this is a name. Okay, so what is this item here is basically when you insert a pivot chart or you insert a chart using a new worksheet, right? So we look at in Excel file how we can actually insert a chart, right? So we will go through this together. Okay, this will be good enough. Okay, then let's say if we type in like name ABC, right? So number, so 1, and then equal to this one, equal to 1 plus this one, and this is equal to 3, right? So this is actually a data, and then you can actually plot it into a chart. And also, if let's say you are using for example F11 is automatically insert a chart, right? So we see what happens if we select this data and we use F11 as the shortcut key. Then well, this Excel is a bit slow, so it is because of I'm running it on a virtual machine. Okay, so if you press F11 after you have selected the data, Excel will actually automatically identify the types of data you have and suggest a recommended chart to you. And the recommended chart will be inserted as a separate worksheet, as we will see later, right? So let me just go back to here while waiting for the Excel file. Okay, so it doesn't include the worksheet, chart worksheet, right? Or we can say that this is actually a worksheet that contain charts, right? So here we have to be slightly careful over here, is because you have 2 types of inserting, two ways of inserting a chart. So you can insert a chart in a separate worksheet, or you can insert a chart inside an existing worksheet, right? So if we look at this name sheets, then it is a collection of sheets, right? And what it means here is that it includes worksheets. So bear in mind, worksheets we refer here is the one that you are having the grid line like this, right? So include worksheets and also chart, call it a chart sheet, right? So you have these two types when you are using this thing. Okay, so if you are using worksheets, then it doesn't include so worksheet that contain charts, chart sheets, right? So this is you see, a worksheet that contains chart only. You cannot click elsewhere to type in the formula, data, or something else. So this is like a worksheet that contains a chart. Okay, so if we copy this one and then paste it to the next worksheet, right? So let me just change the name so that we can differentiate it. The numbers start from 4 now. Okay, so for this data now, we can also insert a chart using this instead of F11, we can actually insert through the ribbon here, right? So we can ask Excel to recommend a chart, or we can insert a bar chart like this, right? So you see this chart and this charts, they are the same, but the way it is being handled in Excel is different, right? So this is like in a separate worksheet, and this is a chart sheet, and then this one is actually inside the worksheet, and it's an object inside this worksheet, right? So they are different. That is also why we are saying that, okay, you have two types, you see, the worksheets and also the sheets, comparing to this one and also this one, right? So let me just color it so that we can differentiate it. Orange color and then green color, right? So green color and orange color, they are two different types of their nature are different. Okay, then if we insert one more chart, let's say for our reference later, so we put this thing into a pie chart, let's say, right? So let me just drag it somewhere, right? Okay, so we have two charts in this worksheet, and let's say if we create one more, let me use blue color. Okay, so we can rename this one to, like, let's say output. Okay, so this is a place where we want to output the types of worksheets or charts into this this area, so that we can differentiate them. And now here is where the codes is coming, right? So let me zoom in a little bit more, right? So this should be good enough. Okay, so chart and charts, right? So this one we talk about that later. We focus on these two first, right? So we see how we can differentiate this thing. So what we can see here is that this thing is a bigger set compared to worksheets, right? Because this one is a collection of worksheets only. That means only the orange color. Okay, so when you go to this one, you are referring to orange color and blue color for this one, right? And for this one is green color, orange color, and blue color. 4. Okay, so now let's just try this thing. We first start with the worksheets, right? Okay, so let me open up this VBA editor, insert a new module, so that we are running the code from this module. Okay, and then what we are going to run, let me adjust the font to be bigger. Right, so where is it? Editor. Okay, never mind. This is good enough. Right, so the first one we are going to try is the worksheets, right? So output, let me just name it as output. Say OP worksheets. Okay, right. So this is to test worksheets. So again, remember apostrophe is to comment out the codes. Okay. Okay, so now what we are going to do is that we are going to look through all the worksheets and then we see what is the name, right? So for I equal to 1 to, so over here for this for loop, and also we are going to use if function, we are going to use for loop in this video. For loop I will explain it in details in the future videos. For now we are just taking it as like looping, right? So we will discuss all different types of looping in the future video. Okay, so for I equal to 1 until let's say worksheets.count, right? So you see, if you are typing it correctly as an object, after that you should have the properties of this object, or you can view it as like one object and then you have the subset, right? So we want these worksheets to do a count. That means we are counting how many worksheets you have. So from I equal to 1, so we are iterating from the first to the last, right? So this one is to iterate all worksheets. Then what we are going to do is that we are going to put in worksheets. So remember in the previous video we discussed about how we can insert a value or write a value into Excel file using VBA, right? So now we are going to write something over here, right? So let's say we want to pass the values in these two columns, this range, right? So column A, column B. So the worksheet name is output. Okay, .cls. Okay, so if you remember, we discussed about cells and range also. When we use cells here, we are saying that okay, which row, which column we want to insert in row number 3, 4, 5. It depends on how many worksheets you have, right? So it should be iterating and then increasing according to I. So it should be I plus 2. That means when I is 1, the first worksheet, you have the row number 3. So row number 3. And we want to put it in the first column. And what we want here is that we are going to get worksheets I. So instead of using name, you see, we can also, this is what we discussed last week, and we can also use a counter. So this is a new one, right? So dot what name. We can do something like this. So we are saying that okay, I want these worksheets, what is the name, and then I pass to this range. Okay, now the same thing you can copy and paste, not same but similar, right? So in column number 2, which is column B, we want the type name. Okay, so we want something like this. So first we want to know what is the worksheet name and then what is the type. So place it side by side so that we can compare, right? So you can click run here, this small green triangle, or you can use keyboard F5 to run. So run codes using F5, right? So click inside this sub, right? And then you click F5 to run, and then go back to Excel. You can see the name, sheet 1, sheet 2, output, they are all worksheets. We don't have this one over here, you see. So this green color is not included under worksheets definition or collection. Okay, now we move to the next one. If we are doing this one, like, so similar code, but now we change a bit to this one. So you cannot use the same name for different sub in the same module or in the same domain. Okay, so this one is to text sheets. So similar codes, but we change the object. You see, this is actually a collection of object. So we change it to something like this, and then this part is still the same because we are still passing it to this range, right? Except that the column is D and E, which is 4 and 5. So this is 4 and 5. And then instead of worksheets, it should be sheets. and this one also same. Okay, so having this one done, then F5 again to run it. You see now we have 4 items. These 4 correspond to the name here: chart 1, sheet 1, sheet 2, output, right? And they are actually telling us that this name is a chart, not a worksheet, right? So here, over here, we can see that worksheets contain only those that you have grid line in Excel. Sheets here contain everything that you can see on the bottom left, right? So all the names here. So that is what we have for this one, worksheets and also sheets. So they are like this is a bigger set compared to this one. So this is subset of this thing. Okay. So having these 2 done, then we go back to this one, the singular worksheets, right? Compared to this one, what are the difference? So this is a collection of worksheet, but this is a single worksheet. So how do we use this single worksheet here? We have to use something like let me go back to Excel, right? So it depends on it is no longer a collection of this one is no longer a collection of object, right? So need to be careful. It is not collection of objects. That means in this case it's not a worksheet collection, right? So we are not referring to a set or a group, but we are referring to a single object. Okay, so this one you have to be slightly careful. All these are a collection. You can view them as a group, as a set, but this is like element of the set. So worksheet is element of this thing. So when we are saying element, then when you go to this, it is an element. Okay, is an element, not collection or group. Okay, so when it is in this case, then we see how we can write the code. We are still using similar things like this one, but without the S, right? So in this case, we cannot directly run the code in this way, but we have to do something like this. DIM, again, DIM is like a declaration of the variables, right? So WS as worksheet. So you see, you can we are declaring this one as a, what is that called? Singular, right? So declare, this is to declare WS as an object. Okay, not a collection of object, but an object. Okay, so when we are trying to iterate throughout all the worksheets, then we cannot use we are not using for I equal to 1 until the counter, right? So count here is like on worksheet you have 3 counts. Over here we are using something like this for each WS in worksheets. Okay, and then over here you see the previous code, the first one that we are using worksheets.i because we have the counter I equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on, so we can do something like this. But in this case we are iterating the object, so you don't need the counter anymore. You can directly do something like this. Okay, so remember this is not next I but next WS, next worksheet. So if you run this code, sorry, I have to change the column. 1, 2, 3. Let me delete this one first. Right, so let me, okay, run this one. Hey. Oops. Okay, so this is the original one, so we have to put it under column number 7, right? So 7 and 8. So this one changed to 7 and 8. But over here, as you can see, we don't have I anymore. So we cannot do this iteration in this way, so we have to define I equal to I plus 1, so that we have the counter I, and then we initialize with a value 0. So I is always a integer, right? So declare I as an integer, and then start from 0 and iterate in this way, so that you have row 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Then if you run this code, you see you get exactly the same output here, because you are iterating throughout all the worksheets, right? And then you define this one as this thing. Okay, so this is an object. When you use this one, it is an object, it is not a collection, so you cannot put it over here, because you are saying that, okay, for example, you are saying that for every person in the car, so the car is like it's like a bigger set, right? So inside the car you have 4 persons, so you can iterate through 1, 2, 3, 4. But you cannot say that for each car in the person, so it doesn't work this way. So worksheets can be here, but this one, it should be here, okay, because this is a single object. Okay, so having done these 3, then we know that, okay, so these 2 are collections, and this is to do a collection of all the worksheets. This one include the charts, and then this is like a single object. Then having the same idea, then we can actually proceed to this one. So this one, as usual, similar to this thing, right? So when you have singular, it is a singular, right? So it is a single object. And if you have plural, it is a collection. So same to this one, this should be a single chart object. Oh, sorry, chart. Okay, and this one is actually the collection of charts. So collection of chart, this chart here is defined as this chart, right? So now we can actually perform the same thing. Let's say we can use this code, right? So we start from charts. Let me capitalize this one. Okay, right, so where's my mouse? Not working. Never mind. Okay, right, charts, and sorry, output. This is output. This one, right? So it is a charts. So from I equal to 1 to charts.count. So we are iterating through. How come my mouse not working suddenly? Okay, never mind. Right, so we are iterating through. This is worksheets. Let me change the comment a bit. Here, this one is just iterate. Forgot to change the comments. This one is it's the same thing, right? So iterate through all the charts. Okay, right, and now we are looking at, we try to put in the check here, right? So how many columns we have? This is column 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So we change it to 10 and 11. Of course, over here is no longer sheets but charts. Okay, right, so press F5 to run it, and then we see you have only one item here, right? So one worksheet, sorry, this is chart sheets, and then what is the type? The type is chart. So this is like the same as this one, you see. Okay, so this is like a combination of this one plus this one. Okay, so that is the charts. So the same idea you can actually use for like chart, so the singular. So we do the same thing with like dim cht, let's say, as chart. Okay, and then copy this one. So you have I as this one, I equal to 0. And then for each CHT in active workbook dot charts, right? So we are saying that, okay, now you don't have the counter anymore, but you have CHT as the name, as the object. So CHT is here. As usual, you have to step up this thing, I equal to I plus 1, right? So so this part, it should be CHT. So running through this one, we should be putting it at column 11, 12, 13, right, and 14. So run through this one, you can see you get the same thing also, right? So this is using chart. So that is how you can define a single object, right? So this is defining CHT as an object. So usually what we do is we define integer, string, decimal is like double, right? So this is this part here, we define them as an object, and then we iterate through all the object inside this active workbook dot charts, right? So that is the idea of charts and chart. Okay, so we have covered all these 5 items. The last thing is that you can see we are iterating through all these things, whatever output we have here, right? So everything here contains only the worksheet, so which is everything here, you see, right? But if you go to like this one, this one, you have 2 charts here. These 2 charts are not included in our iteration in the codes, because this one is actually not a worksheet, right? So these 2 are not a worksheet, but they are an object, okay, chart object. So over here we have this chart and charts done, right? So this is the parts of the additional parts where we discuss about the chart object. So sub op chart object, let's see. So to understand chart object, so this chart object is that we are trying, okay, or we put it this way, our objective is to capture all the individual charts, right? So we are referring to these 2 charts, but not including this one, because this one you can capture it using the charts or the chart, right? So to capture these 2 charts inside, that is inside a worksheet, that means we are trying to capture individual charts inside a worksheet, right? So to do this, of course, we have to first define the chart object. So like CHT object, right, as chart object. Okay, then what we can do is that we also need to because you see we won't know how many charts we have inside each worksheet, right? So if you want to iterate through all the charts inside the worksheets, then we have to define the worksheet also. Worksheets, this one, right? So now you have 2 objects. You can iterate through each worksheet, and then inside each worksheet we find the object of chart, the chart object. Okay, of course you don't need this line if let's say you know that you are going to look at one specific or one certain worksheets only, then you don't have to define this way. But in this case, we are going to look through all the charts in this workbook. Then we are saying that, okay, for each WS in worksheets, right? So that means we are going to iterate through this orange color and blue color, right? And then usually my own practice is that whenever I create a loop, right, so I have to close it first, then only I type whatever inside, so that you don't have to remember to type next WS after you write a long code, right? So usually when your code is long, then it will be a good practice if you type in for each, or for I, then your next I, something like that. So same thing inside each worksheet. Now we have each chart object for each chart object in what? Remember, we are going to look at this worksheet, right? So in this worksheet dot charts, chart objects. Okay, right. So now with this this line, we are saying that, okay, next chart object first. Okay, we are saying that we are looping through all the chart objects inside this worksheet now. Okay, and then we got to put in put it at column PQ, right? Let's say column P is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, column 16, right? So let me just copy this one. So my mouse suddenly not working, so you can see that what's that called? I'm navigating through using keyboards a bit harder. Okay, right, so this is 16, 17, right? It's no longer CHT object, but sorry, this should be CHT OBJ dot name. Okay, CHT OBJ dot chart. Okay, oops, dot name. Okay, so you see after we have all these codes, right? So let me, first for loop here is to loop through or go into each worksheet one by one. Worksheet here refer to the orange color, blue color, okay? Green color not included because we are using worksheets. And then this part here, we are going to say, okay, inside each worksheet, we are trying to find the chart. So individual chart like these two, okay? So whenever Excel found or VBA found this chart, then they will put in the name and the chart name, okay? So after you have run, click F5, run this one, you can see we get the object name is called chart. Okay, sorry, I need another one which is to iterate through. dim I as integer, I equal to 0, initialize it, and then over here I equal to I plus 1, right? So run through this one, delete this first. Okay, oh sorry, F5, right? Okay, oops, where's my mouse? Over here. Okay, right, so you have chart 3 and chart 4, and then this is the name, this is dot chart dot name. That means we have the worksheet. Okay, so these are the two. Okay, and then if we go to here, then let me move my mouse a bit. Okay, right, so if you select this one, you will see on the top left corner here, this is chart 3, the name, right? So chart 3 refer to this one, and chart 4 refer to the pie chart. Of course, you can change the name, like this is bar chart. Okay, then going back to this VBA, F5 to run it, go back to Excel, you see the name changed to bar chart, and it should be worksheet 2. Okay, and then if we run one more time, go back to here, you see worksheet 1, bar chart, and chart 4. Okay, so the first part here that we are having, sheet 1, sheet 2 is not the worksheet name that contains the chart. It's the worksheet name that you are actually, it's the active worksheet. That means if you are at this part, right, so you see, then go back to here, and if I run the code, okay, F5 to run, and then you go back to Excel file, you see the worksheet name changed already. So you have to be careful. This is not the worksheet name that contain the charts, but they are just the active worksheets, the name of the active worksheet. So if you are at here, you run the code, you get sheet 2 bar chart. But if you are at output, then you run the code, it should become output bar chart, right? So that is the difference. So this is the chart objects and chart objects and chart objects. Okay, right, so this is what we are going to cover in this video. So in the next video, we are going to talk about a few common types of looping, right? So for loop, like do while loop, and also the if statement. So these are the basic statement that you will actually see in most of the programming language, right? So after we completed these 3, then we will move on to the more interesting parts where we can use VBA to automate and to generate output, result, and so on. Okay, so that one would be in the future, next 2 videos probably. So the next video we will talk about these 3 items, basically the 2 main items, loopings and also if statement. And then for looping, we have for loop and do while loop, and if statements is just if else. Okay, so that is the end of this video. Before I end, then let me just recap what we have learned in this video, right? So we learned about the difference between these 3 items, right? So worksheets, sheets, and worksheet. So the first 2 are actually a collection of object, right? So either it is collection of worksheets that contain the grid line, or the worksheets that contain chart only, right? So that is a difference between these 2. While for the third one, it is just referring to an object. So it's not a collection, but it is an object. That means like worksheet output is an object. Okay, so charts, same thing, is the worksheets that contain chart. So referring to the green color worksheets in this example. Okay, then the singular refer to the object. So if you have 10 charts worksheets, then chart refer to one of them. You can iterate through all of them, something like this. Okay, then this one, chart objects and chart object and chart objects, but are basically referring to the individual charts that you have inside the worksheets. Okay, so that is the difference between these 6 items. So when you are trying to look through, like for example, delete all the charts that you have in one complicated Excel file, you can use this one, right? So if you are going to look through all the worksheets that contain charts, like the green color in this case, so you can use this one. So that is how we can efficiently detect the item, and then either delete it, modify it, or change the font and so on. So all these things we will leave it to the futures. So I see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.